I'm Professor Pieter Kruger. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist and operating in the space of high performance across sport and business. And I get to spend my time in a range of interesting and fascinating environments. Now, most of the time when people discuss topics with us, it's very much around the performance side of things. Performance behaviors, don't get me wrong, is a really important thing to focus on, but there's a very neglected area around recovery behaviors that people don't talk about very much. If you look at some of the data across the last 50 years, we are living in interesting times. It seems like the pressure is exponentially building, going into the information age, the fact that we are connected all the time, we can work from anywhere, so we do. We started seeing a significantly increased blur in boundaries between work and life. So most people don't know where work stops and where life begins, because you might go home, but what you do is once you get there, it's laptop out, maybe you've had a bite to eat, but you start working again. Apart from that, we're always available, so people can contact you via text message or phone call, so it's not even just about email. So the problem is we work significant hours, but we don't recover as well as we should. In elite sport, it's much easier because we spend a tremendous amount of time on recovery behaviors. So we work up to a particular performance, perform exceptionally well, and then recover before we start building up. In work, it seems a little bit like a flat line. People get the intensity and the working hours up there, and they try and keep it up there, which is very often, in the longer run, not something that's sustainable. According to an interesting longitudinal study by the National Sleep Foundation, they found that in the early 1970s, the average person slept around, on average, 8.3 hours per night and worked around 7.5 hours per day. In a very short space of time, going into the early 2000s, that turned around where the average person worked more than 9 hours a day and slept less than 7. Now, it's a problem if you look at how this graph is pulling apart. I think if that study continued into the 2020s, we would have seen that gap increasing ever more. For a lot of people, a 9 or 10 hour workday is sometimes around lunchtime, and they still have a big chunk of the day to go. Now, the problem I have with this is that it's almost like we believe you can work your way out of trouble. I don't know if you've noticed, it doesn't really matter how hard you work, you're never going to see the bottom of the pile. Because per definition, as soon as you finish something, something else will fill its place. So we cannot just work more and recover less and think we're going to keep on performing well. Doing that is a little bit like trying to run a marathon at the sprinting pace. It's doable, but for short chunks of time. If you think you're going to continue doing that, at some stage you're going to run out of steam. So that's equivalent also to being in a hamster wheel. It doesn't matter how much you pick up the pace, you're not going anywhere. So we have to be smarter in terms of how we build in recovery. Now, although the ideal situation would have been leave work at 5 o'clock and don't do more than you have to, but in reality, it unfortunately doesn't work like that, and we know it. So one of the suggestions we will make in terms of managing this better is you cannot just add things on top of. So two very important things we recommend you do is, number one, blended recovery, so things you can build into your day. But secondly, what we want to do is manage our working hours. So peaks and troughs. If you sometimes have 3 crazy days in a row, take it easy with one quieter afternoon. Or a tough week, take it easy over the weekend, have an early, easy start to the week. So it's simple things like this that can make a big difference. When we talk about blended recovery, however, these are things you can do that you build into the day, such as looking after your diet and hydration. So effective diary management, just how you schedule your meetings, taking breaks in between. Frequent physical movement. So that's something we'll talk about in a different session, the biochemical and neurological advantages of just getting up and moving on the hour. Not to be confused with structured exercise, which is also important from a weight and health management perspective, very important part of this. And then a key one, which we will discuss in a separate session altogether, which is the influence of sleep. But these are things that you don't have to change your entire structure of the day, but these are behaviors you can blend in there at the end of the day that will help you to recover. Now, we will unpack this in a bit more detail in some other sessions. But for the time being, if you need to receive more information on this or would like to discuss any of these matters, please feel free to get in contact with us on the website or leave a comment, and where possible, I'll gladly try and respond to those. Thank you very much, and see you for the next one.